What's up, guys? It's your boy Barca Boy 103, and welcome to another reaction video where today we're gonna be reacting to Ped Talks Football's video. Again, he makes absolutely stellar videos, and we're gonna be discussing why Barcelona are gonna be the most feared team in Europe next season due to the additions and also the improvements they will be making in the off season. And this video will give you that insight, and of course on top of that I will give you my thoughts and analysis. Of course, Pez Talk Football's link is in the description down below. The original video link is down there as well. Go check it out, drop him a follow. But before we get into this video, make sure you guys smash a like and subscribe to my channel as well if you haven't already, and let's get right into it.
Marcus Rashford, Joan Garcia, Rooney Bardghji, the return of Marc Bernal. The new Barca team is looking scary. Flick surprised everyone by winning 3 trophies in his first season, and he did it with just one big sign. He took the team that Xavi left them and transformed them into the best side in Europe. And now with Real Madrid going through a transitional period with a new manager, Barca have a chance to really dominate La Liga for the next few years. Everyone around the club sees it, hence the investments that are being made to help Flick's project. The team dominated in 2025, but even amongst the great moments, there were some cracks that began to show. And one of those cracks was the lack of depth on the wing. Marcus Rashford fixes that. Imagine telling someone a few years ago that United's golden boy was not only going to leave Manchester, but he would leave England altogether. Crazy. Despite the fact that his journey has been more up and down than Bonnie Blue's neck, Rashford fell upward. He went from a team that was 15th in the Premier League to the champions of Spain. He has gone from the grey clouds of Manchester to sunny Catalonia.
Would you like to play with Lamine someday?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You know, I think everybody in the world wants to play with the best.
For Barca, this is a low-risk, high-reward signing. Best case scenario, you just got a winger that can create magic on his own, can rotate anywhere in the attack, and can play left wing, allowing Rafinha to roam as the 10. Worst case scenario is you ended up getting another Ansu Fati, but at least on lower wages. Rashford still has the ability to...
Unfortunately, it's not. Rashford is going to be on 275 a week gross. I think Ansu was on like 210 gross. Or was Ansu maybe on around the same, like 250 gross? So it's not that much of a drastic change. But hopefully Rashford will provide more than Ansu.
To take over games. He did it against PSG in the Champions League. To this day, I still don't understand why Emery took him off when he was cooking those baguette warriors. The fact that he was playing this well against what ended up being the best team in Europe is great to see. Now, having a left winger that can cut inside is going to allow Barca to create more chances. When Rashford cuts in, it forces the defenders to have to make quick decisions on the fly, and that creates more chaos. They have to decide whether to follow Rashford in or pass him off to a midfielder. And trust me, in those little moments, teams are gonna make a mistake. And imagine at the same time that he's cutting in, Baldé is overlapping him. That's way too much pace, power, and skill for the backline to handle.
Jugador inglés que a mí me gustaría que fuera español sería Marcus Rashford.
Remember what Rashford was doing to Trent back in the Premier League? We might see the same thing happen again in El Clasico. By the way, what a turn of events. Imagine telling people a few years ago that these two would go head to head in Spain. 2 players that I never saw leaving England. The other benefit of a player like Rashford is that he allows Rafinha to play as the 10. Under Flick, Rafinha's best quality was his relentless runs in behind, which now he can do even more through the middle where he has more freedom. People forget that Baldé was more of a left winger than Rafinha. As you can see, even though he was listed officially as a winger, he occupied more central areas. He often moved in this spot known as Zone 14, which is the central area just outside the box. And as you can see, he plays more like an attacking midfielder. According to the data from Skill Corner, no player received the ball more times between the lines in La Liga in the 2025 season than Rafinha. In fact, he started as the 10 in the first 3 games of the season, and he was cooking. But since Barca didn't have an elite left winger, Flick put him on the left so that Olmo could play through the middle. And for Rafinha, this transition should be seamless. Look at the positions Rafinha has played across the pitch in his career since 2021. This is a player that can do damage anywhere. With a player like Rashford, Barca now can have more width, something that was an issue before. You see, even though Barca scored for fun, they attacked a lot through the middle. No side in La Liga funneled their attacks through the middle more than Barca. Peep the right side though. 36% of attacks going through just Yamal. What a beast. The problem with the middle approach is that when you play those haram low blocks, it's very difficult to break them down. When Leganés and Mallorca are putting their whole team, fans, director of football, and the water boy behind the ball, you aren't gonna get through by just forcing it down the middle. You need to have width. Because Yamal loves to cut in, and Rafinha was already in the middle, it meant that only Balde was really stretching the opposition wide. But now with a player like Rashford, you get more width on the left-hand side. Now, the criticism around the Englishman has always been around his inconsistency and low work rate. At times, he looked like the best player in the Premier League. Then other times, he looked like English Garnacho. One season, he was putting up 20 plus goals. The next season, you forgot he was even on the pitch. But him being inconsistent won't matter at Barca because nobody is relying on this guy to win games. At Manchester, he was the main guy, so if he didn't play well, they were screwed. At Barca, he's just a rotational option. The club has Rafinha, Yamal, Pedri, Lewandowski, so many.
But on the flip side, it's a really good advantage for Rashford to come in and take one of those spots if their drop-off is there too. But I don't think anyone's going to the season solely relying on a Rashford dominance or Rashford masterclass during the season. If he comes up great, that's where the bonus part comes in. Like you mentioned at the beginning of the video, low risk, high reward kind of situation.
Other players who are difference makers. Nobody is relying on Rashford to win games. Then in terms of his work ethic, I think it should be fine considering that the man was begging for this move. All summer he was retweeting his own comps, liking and commenting on the Barca players' posts, doing interviews saying how much he wanted to be a part of the club. The guy even took a pay cut, so he better be prepared to run through a brick wall for Hansi, especially considering it's a World Cup year. This is Rashford's last chance to redeem his career, because if he can't cook under Hansi Flick, then I don't know what to say. The man turned Ferran Torres into an output machine after it looked like he had forgotten how to play football. So if there's anyone that can change the reputation and confidence of a player, it would be the German. Just imagine seeing Rashford hit this celebration in El Clasico. Now, to add more depth onto the wings, Barca also signed a young wonder kid by the name of Bardghji. Now, from what I've researched and watched, Bardghji's game is basically tailor-made for Barcelona. He's a left-footed right winger, the classic inside forward who loves to cut in and glide past defenders. Where have I seen that before? It's funny, you can always tell which players were inspired by Messi. You watch him dribble and it makes perfect sense that he spent hours watching Messi comps. But keep in mind, he's nowhere near as explosive and quick as Messi. I see this guy more like a Swedish Iniesta in the sense that he isn't the most athletic player, but he's so good on the ball and so intelligent that he can easily get by defenders. He's nimble, sharp, with insane balance and close ball control. He creates space when none exists. Like I said, he's not lightning fast, but his low center of gravity and quick feet make him so slippery and unpredictable. What helps him be so creative and spontaneous on the ball is the fact that he didn't play competitive or organized football until he moved to Sweden at the age of 6. So at his core, he's a street baller. Someone who learned the game playing with his boys on the street, learning the fundamentals. Finding players that play football with that sort of freedom and joy is becoming rarer and rarer in the modern game.
That's why Brazilian
really
success
is one of those players who as soon as he gets the ball, everybody gets up. You're just expecting something magical to happen. And it's not just the dribbling. Rooney sees passes others don't. He can score, he can assist, and he links up with the play with a maturity way beyond his years. The vision from Deco and Flick looks pretty simple. This guy's coming in to be the backup right winger for Yamal. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, Yamal played a lot of football in 2025. He played over 4,500 minutes. He essentially got no rest. The only time he wasn't used was when he physically couldn't play because he was injured. And that isn't sustainable. When you're in 4 different competitions, when there's midweek games and Copa del Rey matches and Champions League football, Flick needs to be able to rotate without seeing a drop-off in quality. Look at Barca's results between when Yamal was playing and when he was out. You can't have that going forward. You need another right winger that can create magic. And Bardghji provides all of that. He's the same profile of winger as Yamal, a left-footed magician who can cut in.
The only thing with Bardghji is just his pace. Like he's, of course, he's coming off the back of the ACL too, so we can't rush to conclusions even though he's looking good in preseason. But when you have 1v1 wingers, you need the pace to back your movement, your skills, your trickery, and Bardghji doesn't really have that to an extent where you think, oh, he's rapid like a Rashford, like a Balde, like a Lamine. I would say he's still lower. He's still slower than Rafinha, and Rafinha is no, snail. So I think that would be an interesting part of the game to see how he adapts to that in La Liga. But still, definitely a talented player that can provide that coverage for Yamal. Will probably be someone else first, whether it be Ferran or Rafa, then moving things around a little bit. But if the opportunity comes and he takes it, definitely can become that second choice down the right.
someone who can create and score. Just like Yamal, he's the type of player that when you give him the ball, you can just sit back and watch him cook. He feels right at home running at defenders and being in 1v1 situations. Because of how good he is on the ball and his lack of explosiveness, he could also be really good in the number 10 position. Now, Barca already stacked there with Olmo and Fermin Lopez, so I doubt he actually moves in there, but he is versatile enough to flourish in different roles. It's very much a low-risk, high-reward signing. The risk is that he gets injured again. He missed the entire 2025 year due to a knee injury that he got during training in early May of 2024, which sucks because when he was healthy, he was in the double digits for goals. So he has the ability, it's just that his development got stalled because of multiple injuries. That risk though is minimized due to the price tag. A couple of mil is a lot of money for you and me, but for Barca, it's pennies. And worst case scenario is he gets injured and they end up with the same amount of depth that they had before they signed him. Best case scenario, this turns out like the Pedri signing and Barca just picked up one of the world's best talents for pennies on the dollar. Cause you guys have to realize that Bardghji was a player who at 15, 16 years old was wanted by every club in the world. All the scouts knew about him, but because of his contract running out, plus his injury situation, his price came down tremendously, but his ability hasn't gone anywhere. And when you look at Barca's track record, these low risk, high reward signings tend to be some of their best pieces of business. You should actually be scared when Barca spend big, not when they pick up these teenagers for small fees. Like I said, worst case scenario, he turns into Ansu Fati, but on significantly lower wages. Best case scenario, he turns into a star. Either way, it's very low risk for Barca. Even if they only get a few good performances from him, they can easily sell him for more than what they paid for him. From what I've seen though, the guy fits the team like a glove. Technically gifted, excellent on the ball. He can develop easily under Flick, around better players. He can be great as a super sub, as a rotational option. It gives Barca more quality, more options in their attack. And by now we've seen that Flick is like steroids for attackers. You give him players that can run and are good on the ball, and he's going to significantly increase their output. Ferran Torres looked like he couldn't play football, and then under Flick he got more goals and assists than Ballon d'Or contender Vinny. At this point, how could you not believe in any winger when the German is the manager? Have Rooney play in those early Copa del Rey matches, or in those La Liga matches before a big Champions League fixture midweek. I can see him cooking in any of those fixtures because he's fantastic against those haram low blocks. He is the perfect weapon against those teams that defend like if they lose, their family gets slaughtered or something, because he's so good in tight spaces. But keep in mind, he can also punish teams in transition with no problem. And he's not just some aesthetic dribbling merchant. When the ball drops to him, he knows how to bang it into the back of the net. With more consistent game time and a Hansi Flick system, expect this guy's numbers to go up, as long as he stays healthy, of course. The other thing I like about Bardghji is his mentality. He already has the attitude of a winner. He made it very clear he doesn't want to be the next anyone. He just wants to be himself. Yamal has that same mentality. Then Rooney was very clear that he wants to be the best player in the world. And based on reports, his work ethic matches that desire. Coaches say that he's one of those guys who's always the last to leave training. Fans who've watched Copenhagen see him practicing free kicks alone, long after his teammates had gone. And his work ethic has shown. I mean, at just 16, he became Copenhagen's youngest ever debutant and the Superliga's youngest ever scorer. By 18, he had 10 goals for the first team, and one of the most iconic goals in the club's history, that winner against United. This is a kid who bowed in front of enemy fans after flipping a derby on its head in 10 minutes. That's Rooney Bardghji. He is a player who isn't afraid of the occasion. He isn't afraid of pressure. Another issue that needed fixing was the goalkeeping situation. For years, a small share of Barca fans consistently talked about how Ter Stegen wasn't elite as he used to be. That despite some great league campaigns like 2023, he was very unreliable in big Champions League nights. They were correct, as Flick identified after just one season that a new goalie was needed. Well, enter Joan Garcia, a talented young goalie who basically single-handedly stopped Espanyol from getting relegated. When you look at the statistical comparison between Ter Stegen and Garcia, you understand why this change was needed. As you can see, besides number of passes and long passes accuracy, Garcia dominates Ter Stegen in basically every category. He is a significantly better shot stopper, he performs more defensive actions, and he's better in the air. Now, of course, he played for a worse team, so naturally he's going to be forced to make more saves, more defensive actions. When you are a goalie on a relegation level team, you basically get peppered with shots. But the thing is, not only did Garcia have the most saves in La Liga, he also had the best save percentage. That efficiency is what makes him such a great goalie and why he's such a good fit for Barca, because naturally now he's going to face less shots, but he's going to have to be more clutch than ever because there's only going to be a few opportunities where he's going to be tested, but in those opportunities, he has to be on his toes and he has to bail out the team with a save. According to The Athletic, Garcia prevented 8 goals based on the quality of shots that he faced. He also claimed the most crosses. This part should really get Barca fans excited because Ter Stegen never dominated his box. I mean, I have to constantly show the Suarez clip.
I love this.
Ter Stegen would never come off his line, but Garcia is the opposite. He dominates his box. He also managed to keep 8 clean sheets in the 2025 season, which is actually very impressive when you consider the fact that Espanyol had a leakier defense than Bonnie Blue. He was keeping Espanyol in games they had no business staying in. In just his second La Liga match, Garcia made 7 saves to earn a clean sheet away at Atletico Madrid. A few days later, he helped Espanyol win their first match of the season against Rayo Vallecano. On tougher nights like facing Real Madrid and Real Betis, Garcia stood tall. Against Madrid, he made 10 saves, and Espanyol still got bent over and hammered 4-1. Against Betis, he made 10 saves again, and he saved the penalty, and they still lost. He was the only reason that Espanyol ever had a chance in any match. In February of 2025, Espanyol actually beat Real Madrid 1-0, back when Madrid were at the top of the table. And the only reason they won this game was because of Garcia. Against Valencia, he made a save so acrobatic that they called him the Blue and White Angel. His highlight saves actually became a regular thing. He won La Liga Save of the Month for both February and March, the first player ever to win a back-to-back. One of the saves was a lightning-fast reaction to a powerful shot from Lucky Bacchio at Sevilla. He also saved 2 penalties in a single game against Mallorca. Now, just to put it into context, Ter Stegen has 2 penalty saves in total throughout his entire La Liga career. If we go back to that data MB chart, you will also notice that Joan Garcia had a higher short passing percentage. And that's because Garcia is also very good with his feet. He isn't just a good shot stopper. And I would argue the only reason his long passing percentage is worse is because he played on an Espanyol team that couldn't string together 2 passes. So he constantly had to hoof the ball up to nobody just to relieve the pressure from the back line. He really is the perfect modern day goalie. He's fast, he's calm, brave. His biggest strength is of course his shot stopping. He's fantastic in 1v1 situations. He doesn't panic, he stays big, reads the situation, and reacts accordingly. Time after time, he stopped to look like certain goals, which is great because I feel like Ter Stegen at times is the opposite. He makes very savable shots look impossible. Coaches and journalists have said that Garcia has that real clutch gene, the kind of player who makes that one save that changes everything. A draw becomes a win, a loss becomes a point. And that's exactly what Barca need, because Barca don't get peppered with shots. They just need a goalie who can pull out that miracle save when they need it the most. And there's one more thing. Garcia plays like an extra defender. He reads the game well and is very comfortable rushing out the box to stop through balls before they become dangerous. He has all the qualities needed to be a real sweeper keeper. He knows when to come out to clean up behind the back line. And Barca desperately needs someone like that because of how high of a line Flick likes to play. Having a goalie who is both comfortable on the ball and knows when to come off his line to sweep behind the back line is so important. It makes the team so solid defensively. But in my opinion, more than anything, this move shows that Barca are becoming more ruthless. I mean, firstly, they're taking a 24-year-old keeper from their city rivals. This guy came through Espanyol's academy. He's a local kid, and they just casually brought him in. Then secondly, it's a sign to Ter Stegen that times have changed. He had gone too complacent, never wanting any competition. Remember, it was Ter Stegen who essentially forced the club to sell Bravo in 2016. He said he doesn't like the dual keeper system, and he will leave if he isn't between the sticks for every match. Then there was the report that came out that Ter Stegen refused to address the fans during the La Liga celebrations at the end of the 2025 season. Apparently he was frustrated over his limited playing time, but he thought he was going to go straight back into the lineup during the business end of the season after he had just recovered from a long-term injury. Also, let me remind you guys, he wasn't looking that great before the injury either. Then it gets worse. Another report came out that stated Ter Stegen refused to travel to Milan for the second leg of the Champions League. Reportedly, he had asked Deco to talk to Flick about his playing time. Yeah, he didn't even look the manager in the eye to make this request. He had to have a third party do it for him. Then when Flick naturally said no, Ter Stegen didn't go with the team. Keep in mind, this guy's the captain. He's supposed to be a leader in the dressing room. Injured players flew to Milan to watch that game, but Ter Stegen was clearly more invested in himself than the team as a whole. So when you add up all these events, all reported by some credible sources, it's obvious that a keeper change was so desperately needed. Not only is the current version of Joan Garcia better than Ter Stegen, but it was time to turn over a new leaf. It was time for a new era, and it took Flick just 1 year to realize this. And keep in mind, Flick also knows Ter Stegen from the German national team, so he has literally zero faith in the German goalie. Garcia doesn't just help the team now, but he's also the future of this club. And it's nice now because players know, do not be complacent. There is no room for complacency and nostalgia about what you did in the past when the club is trying to win a Champions League. Now there's another player that feels like a new addition, but he technically isn't new, and that's Marc Bernal. Bernal looked like Busquets' regen when the 2025 season began. A tall, lanky holding midfielder who was excellent at winning the ball back and finding passes in between the lines. He was so good that Barca no longer went into the transfer market looking for a defensive midfielder. Unfortunately, his rise ended as quickly as it started due to an ACL injury. It was a big blow, but now he is back. As good as Casado is and as magical as De Jong can be, these guys cannot play like Bernal. He is the exact player needed to anchor the midfield.
Basically a mold of both of them together.
For a player like Pedri. Who knows? We might even see Flick move away from his famous 4-2-3-1 into a flat 4-3-3 with Bernal as the sole pivot and then Pedri and Gavi ahead of him. But no matter the formation, having Bernal back is a huge plus, and everyone will see that again. Now,
that's the big part there. I think Bernal just makes his team more complete and more of a threat. And this is why this team is so terrifying. There's so many, different threats and different players with different profiles in each and every position, except for fullback. We are missing one there, like I mentioned in a previous video. But this team has the making for it to make that step up, especially with the captaincy is going to be changing as well. That'll have huge implications. Don't forget about the talent that we do have in the B team, the Fernandez cousins, Doro Fernandez as well. This team has what it takes to go all the way in every competition next season. Really what's holding it back now is the execution aspect and also improving those key, mishaps and errors that we had on a consistent basis from last season. But of course, in the comments down below, let me know your thoughts. Drop a like if you did enjoy and subscribe as well if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys next time on the channel. Take care and Forza Barca.
Yeah.